to Creature Features Podcast. Coming soon to Miami Fox Streaming.
This was Abby. This was Abby. A woman loved and in love until that night when something evil came looking for a soul to possess.
I can't stop thinking about your husband.
That creep. Forget him. Was this Abby? Now the fun starts.
Grab her! Hold her! Hear me, demon. Leave this woman's body!
Abby. Rated R.
Shocker is a fucking terrifying movie. Like, that movie fucking works.
No! Not again!
Did the studios in the 80s get a little lazy and money hungry sometimes? Sure.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Maybe that's a hot take, but studios are there to make money.
My, we are turning into a little monster, aren't we?
There were toys, there were games, there was all sorts of media and merch. Freddy Mania was fully alive.
They were treating the franchises like an old microwave burrito, just cheap, fast, and not satisfying to any of us. One thing I will say.
Elaborate.
So, okay, maybe that's a little weird, but still a really, really cool death scene.
And it was awkward. And it was like, you know, your uncle saying like a bad joke during Thanksgiving dinner, and it just, the whole family just now is just looking down at their plate going like, well, we still love them.
That's a dead man's hand.
Like, you don't know this dude, and he's walking around in a fucking trench coat and a fedora, and you're like, Halloween, I guess. And he's a stranger, though.
Straight to video, motherfuckers.
Damn right.
Now for the feature presentation.
Greetings, fellow insomniacs, and welcome to another episode of the Creature Features Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. I am your host. My name is Chunky Larry, and we are being brought to you once again, lovingly, caringly, balls cradled by the good folks over at Miami Fox Streaming. You can go to Miami Fox Streaming, subscribe, use the promo code CreaturePod, save yourself 15% or more. You'll hear about that more during the middle of the show and the break. We're not going to be privy to that, but you will be privy to that. And with this new batch of episodes that I'm doing something that I haven't really done before, and it's making things interesting. I am asking people to pick a film when I ask them to come on the show, and I'm not really sure what they're going to get. Well, I know what we're going to talk about today, but when I ask somebody to be on the show, I never know what I'm going to get from them. And this is the perfect example of that. This is a film that I never expected to talk about on a horror movie podcast, but I'm kind of glad that we are, because it's a foundational film. And it is an entryway into horror for a lot of people. I know it was for my particular generation. And the person that we're going to be talking to today is absolutely one of those kinds of people that kind of catch you off guard. You never know what you're going to get from him. He's very fucking brilliant and one of the most talented filmmakers that I've been able to have like a conversation with on like a deeper level than what were you thinking of when you made this fucking part of your film. So like to be able to kind of pick his brain and have back and forths on TikTok has been a thrill of my experience being on the app. I'm really happy to have him on here because he's very handsome, and you'll get to see that very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Director Patrick, how you doing, man?
Hey folks, how are you? Chunky Larry, I thought you were like introing Tim Burton. I was like, oh shit, he's on the podcast.
No,
oh
I
my
said
god,
handsome.
I was not ready for that.
I said handsome. Tim Burton is a weird looking man, sir.
He's handsome to a certain sect.
I mean,
believe me.
He is doing really well in the lady department. Lisa Marie, I was like, well, that's got to be an anomaly. And then he goes to Helena Bonham Carter. It's like, oh no, that makes a little bit more sense. Now he's with Monica Bellucci. Monica fucking Bellucci? Are you fucking kidding me right now? How?
Yeah. It's that he's an original goth daddy. That's the thing. It's like when you're like cemented as a goth daddy, you get whatever you want.
Look, I made Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Let's fuck.
We're not talking about that one today.
No, we are not talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Thank God. We are talking about a Tim Burton movie I actually enjoy. We're talking about the 1988 film Beetlejuice.
Adam and Barbara are recently deceased. They were happy to haunt in peace until the new residents moved in. To rid themselves of these pesky pests, they call on the ghost world's leading bioexorcist.
It's showtime. Attention, keyboard shoppers. I'm back. You want somebody out of the house? I want to get somebody out here. But I want out. For good.
You two have really screwed up.
I want Beetlejuice out of the picture. You guys really are dead.
Nightshades promise, spirits drive. To the living, let now the dead,
Shall we?
come alive.
That is why I won't do 2 shows a night anymore, babe. I won't.
Patrick, I gotta know, what about this movie made you say, let's talk about this with Chunky Larry?
One of two things. One, on my podcast, Rewinded Living Dead, shameless plug, my co-host like genuinely hates Tim Burton and all aesthetics that are Tim Burton. Just hates the shit. So he's like, I never want to talk about Beetlejuice or any of that stuff. I was like, okay, fine. So I was like, when you approach me, I'm like, well, I do want to talk about Beetlejuice. And the reason being is, like you said in the intro, it's incredibly formative to people of a certain age. Mm-hmm. And when we were kind of talking in the run up to this podcast, I was like, man, you know, I never really thought of Beetlejuice as gateway horror. But when you look at it, it really is in the best fucking way possible.
Thank you.
Like, it's so colorful and sort of just made for kids. Like, I've sat my young children, I have two boys under 10. When I sat them down to watch it with no preamble, no prep, no nothing, they just locked way the fuck in on it. Like, it speaks to children.
Dude, you say that because I was sitting in my room in kind of preparation of recording, and I just put it on, and it was on, and I'm sitting on my bed. My kid comes in the room to ask me a question, just to ask me a question about some shit. And he's like, oh, what is this? And climbs his ass up in the bed, watches the whole fucking thing with me. Mm-hmm. It's just like, is it the German expressionism that you're gravitating towards?
Clearly.
like there's a period of time where Tim Burton worked in a way that I don't feel like he works anymore. Where he was just hitting on all fucking cylinders. And this is what, his second film?
I believe so. Yeah. This is an all cylinders film. I'm so glad you said that. I don't think anything in this movie's out of place, you don't get a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
So recently, a buddy of mine, shout out to Real Dumb on TikTok, he put together a director's tournament, and he threw Tim Burton in there because he was just trying to find directors. And listen, Tim's got a lot of stinkers. Later in the career, especially. This movie, Beetlejuice, for what it is, it's like from moment to moment to moment. I'm like, I wouldn't shave that off. I wouldn't take that away. This doesn't feel like a waste of time. This doesn't feel like meandering a big problem in the 1980s. Like, it's a lot of movies just kind of, well, in this part, we're just going to do this. It's plot driven. It's character driven. It's color driven. It's comedy driven. There's a gag a moment. There's not a moment in the movie where a gag isn't happening, which is something that is almost non-existent in movies these days. There's a rare breed of director writers these days that can like pack comedy in the entire time in some way, shape, or form. There's tons of things going on in the background that are funny. There's tons of funny things happening that the characters are doing. Just the business the actors are into is like, well, that's ludicrous. That's stupid. It's kooky. It's altogether ooky. Like, that kind of shit is just, Beetlejuice is drenched in it.
So before we get in too deep with the Beetlejuice talk, we have to hit the notes or the spots. And one of the spots that we do is we read an IMDb synopsis. I don't like write one. I just go to IMDb and I get somebody else to do it for me. And so this is the synopsis for Beetlejuice. This is the story of Adam and Barbara, who live in a beautiful house in New England. One day, while driving home, they are involved in a terrible auto accident. They manage to walk home only to discover later that they have died and now haunt their house. When their house is purchased by an out-of-state family, they feel their home is threatened by over-the-top artist's wife and the real estate idea man husband. Their only relief is gothic daughter of the family. Their attempts at scaring the family out of the house are ignored and laughed at. Finally, they fall to the temptation to use the people exerciser Beetlejuice. When they find his tactics are too dangerous, they attempt to contain him and save the family they were trying to boot. Now, that was by FMJ Joker, and if you give your name, we give you credit. But I feel like, yeah, that's the entire plot of the movie. You know what I mean? Like it seems like synopsises and trailers just want to tell you everything rather than teasing you. Like, give me let me see some cleavage. I don't need to see the nipple. Like lure me in. Don't fucking fuck me before you fuck me. So I started a game based on this, and it's called Synopsis Obscura. And when you pick a movie, you're basically agreeing to play said game. So, Patrick, what I need you to do right now is sell people on Beetlejuice without giving anything away, and go.
What do you think of this? You like it?
When the neighbors from hell move in, the only solution is the devil himself.
That's what the fuck I'm talking. That's what happens when you get a filmmaker on here. Do shit. Like that was chef's fucking kiss, my boy.
Thank you, my man.
That exactly. And so I think what I like about Tim Burton is also kind of what I hate about Tim Burton. He is a slave to his very specific style. And if you look at the story of Tim Burton, he was a kid from a well-to-do suburban neighborhood in Southern California who had parents who loved him, and his dad would sit in the living room and watch horror movies with him, and that was the way that they bonded. And so he associates his good times with the horrific. And Tim Burton is a horror filmmaker, and I think that that's like the weirdest of hot takes, because it seems like it should be commonplace, but if you look at his work, it doesn't scream horror filmmaker. Does that make sense to you?
It makes 100% sense because it's a word you've used recently that just completely characterizes Tim Burton. There's a lot of whimsy in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's lighthearted. It's fun. Even you listen to Danny Elfman's score for Beetlejuice, which is fucking legendary. It really, I was like, oh, this is why I love Danny Elfman. It's like dancing little strings. It's very like idyllic 1950s, which is all too common for directors of the 1980s who were like literally just grew up on things from the 50s. So everything out of the 80s has that like 50s drive in it and that bounce in it and that rhythm. Tim Burton's no different. So you add in that, his just natural love of whimsy, his fantastic instinctual comedy. None of that rings horror to you. But when you look at his aesthetic, his visual aesthetic, it's unlike anybody in that era. It's ghoulish. It's freaky. There's bags under everybody's eyes. The characters have like very odd facial features, and a lot of it looks like he watched a lot of John Waters in his teens. Like he's just like, yeah, we need kooky people. We need everyone from the background of B-52's music video to like populate my movie. So it's kooky and ooky on, like I was saying earlier, like on top of all of that fun and whimsy, there's like a horror base, if that makes any sense.
And I mean, you said to me the perfect word when talking about Tim Burton, and that is aesthetic, because his films live in this very specific aesthetic, which is, the outcast within a colorful world. And when he works in that place, it's when he works his best. And so you could look at things like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, even Batman, which in and of itself is kind of a gothic, dark tone. Then the inverse of that is the Joker. And Batman Returns, it goes full gothic. It doesn't have a lot of that. And so even like the things that are supposed to be kind of colorful or muted and gray, there's like very specific things that say this is a Tim Burton movie. And again, it's a lot of inspiration from German expressionism and these very hard slants and lines and curves and all of these elements that kind of exist within the world, but they're subtextual. And so they feel like almost like a toy meant for a child that isn't necessarily meant for a child.
Yes.
And
that's very true.
And that's like the first half of his film career is that. And even things like Frankenweenie, it is a movie made for children that's not really made for children.
Yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, same deal.
Yeah, and so there's this weird thing that he does where it's almost, and I'm sure you as a filmmaker, you can attest to this to a certain extent, that everything you say as an artist is an admission of something.
Oh yeah.
And so like, even if you're telling someone else's story, you're telling it from the perspective of you. And so you can kind of clearly identify who he identifies with in his work. And so I look at his work and I see like Ed Wood, for example. Ed Wood, you know, he has this relationship with Bela Lugosi, and you know, Bela Lugosi dies while they're working together and shit. That mirrors his relationship with Vincent Price, you know. And you look at something even like Big Fish, where it's these worlds that are created by this storyteller, and it seems unrealistic. And you know, when he dies, his son sees the reality of it, and it all sounds like it's make pretend, but it is really just seen through the prism of him. And so, you know, these characters exist, but they're in the stories that he tells, told through the prism of him. And that, again, it feels like an admission. What with Beetlejuice, though, like what is being said here? Because I feel like in all of these other films, you can feel that he's saying something, but what is he saying here?
I think what he's saying is, first of all, he's saying he's Lydia. I think that's the step one. Is like in the movie, like if you can find him, he's Lydia Dietz. And what he's saying is the real world and the kooky world, they belong together. And you know, there's a lot of conflict between his family. First of all, his dad's basically just a business guy, doesn't really give a shit about anything that's weird, doesn't give a shit about anything that's fun. His mom is so over the top and weird, but self-absorbed, right? Delia Dietz, completely self-absorbed. And then you've got Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, Adam and Barbara. Adam and Barbara. They're squares.
I feel like it's almost like a clash of two worlds with Adam and Barbara and the Dietzes. The Dietzes feel like these metropolitan socialites that, you know, are weird, and Adam and Barbara, they both feel like, you know, this Norman Rockwell kind of, you know, picturesque, like homespun small town fucking family. Like Adam fucking builds a model of the entire town.
Yeah.
Because he's bored.
They like the slower life. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's weird. It's weird because to somebody that isn't from that world, like myself, I'm a city boy. I look at it and I say, well, that's weird. And then, you know, somebody from the city to someone like that, they go, what the fuck? They're always on technology, that, you know, they're fucking vapid and, you know, all of this shit. Like, you know, so it's a clash of cultures. And I think that in that essence, it's telling the story of, you know, these two different ideologies that have to kind of find a common ground. And I know that the writers of the story were really intrigued by the way that, like, for example, Japanese deal with death, in the sense that, you know, it's the afterlife is this thing that's a little bit more neurotic than you know, the way that we look at it. We look at, you know, the afterlife as this kind of spectral, and you know, like everything is creepy and eerie, and it wasn't really until Beetlejuice that you see American filmmakers kind of really playing with the afterlife in a way that
it's a good point
they do in this film. And so the world, the other world, or the other side, is, you know, it like they do a lot of world building with the sandworms and this vast waiting room, but you're only seeing kind of the tip of the iceberg with it. And I like that in the sense that, you know that there's more to it, but you're not given all of it. And so it's like an existing lived in world that you get a glimpse of. You're like, wait, no, I want to see more about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I like that they don't give it all to you, because then when you're giving too much, it's like at the behest of structure and like pushing a story forward, because you get bogged down in the minutia of like, well, this is what this is, and these are the rules of this, and you get very simple rules, and they have a fucking whole handbook that they read maybe a couple of pages out of. And so it's like you're just getting a fraction of it, but you're able to understand, because of the way that they move the film along, that this is this other world that exists. So it's a combination of city and country and life and afterlife, and those two things again having to learn how to coalesce, and that is kind of interesting, because when on its surface this is a dumb movie for kids that is colorful and weird and dark, but it is really about making peace with your neighbors, and your neighbors not being necessarily you. Like Barbara says at one point, I just wish that they were more like you.
Yeah, right.
They're not gonna be like you. You are you, and they're them. And so it's almost like that show The Odd Couple.
Yes.
In the sense that there are things that you have to kind of endure when you have a roommate that aren't necessarily going to align with your own particular like eccentricities, your wants and your needs. Is there another example of something that is that, without saying that that's what it is, that comes to mind for you?
In terms of theme of like, can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
I mean, on the spot, I can't just pluck something that I can think of that really hits me over the head. Even though I know that there's, I even think of the Monster Squad, which is another one from that time.
Don't kick the church, it's religious.
Slots is what it is.
Fine. We'll just have to do it right here. Like, really religious, Sean. Why don't we just go over and do it in Burger King? You guys. Oh, shit. Bastard, come on. Okay, come on, read the book. Right. Hey.
All the kids are kind of different. Like, they're bringing, even like Rudy's not necessarily part of the gang. He has to join to be part of the gang, and they have like gatekeeping attitude towards him. Like, oh, you don't know certain this or that. Maybe you're not even part of my gang. And then even kids they dislike and parents that they're having trouble with eventually come together in the end, and they all realize like together we can fight against evil. I think that's kind of like the Goonies is very similar, by the way. It's like the Goonies themselves are a patch of kids, and then there's like the kind of cool kids, and then there's the jock brother. There are movies from that time that are just sort of saying like, as a collective, we're much stronger than we would be all separated out.
The Breakfast Club.
I mean, there we go. I mean, the 80s have a lot of this, and ensembles were very big in the 80s. It was a big deal to have a lot of people on screen together. But what I want to kind of circle real quick back to the world building of this movie. The world building is just so tremendous, and I'm going to keep it very simple here. I heard this phrase and I love it, and I just want to say it to all the burgeoning writers out there who fancy themselves, world builders. Small window into a big world. That is Beetlejuice in a nutshell.
Is this what happens when you die?
This is what happens when you die. That is what happens when he dies. And that is what happens when they die. It's all very personal. And I'll tell you something. If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have had my little accident.
Yes.
You always want to see more. You said this perfectly, Larry. There's more you want to see. Don't bog your script down with trying to fill out all that shit. Give us this little moment. Give us the book that tells us, oh, the book tells me they've been doing this for a long ass time. The bureaucracy of the other side shows that it's a big, messy, long process. It tells you a lot without saying anything. Small window, big world. That's always the way to go when it comes to world building. This is a masterclass in it.
I love that because I was a couple months ago, I had Stephen C. Miller on. He did the film Werewolves, and I'd even said to him when I was talking to him, I was like, you know, you could tell that there's more there, and I feel like if you gave it a little bit more time, that, you know, it could have you could have just kind of softened, sanded down those corners, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And make it feel, in the sense that it's a werewolf version of The Purge. And, you know, with The Purge, you know enough that you know that something's going to happen and that they've lived in a world where something has happened. And, you know, and that kind of stuff, I think, is really, really integral in making something that is alluring to an audience. Because, you know, you're taking a leap of faith and thinking that people are going to care about this world that you've created, but you have to give them enough that they want to know more. When
yes.
you try to give them too much, that's when you find yourself having to explain more than you need to. And when you're explaining more than you need to, you're not focusing on the story that they can latch onto. And once they've latched onto the story, then they'll want to know more. Make them want to know more. And again, you said it perfectly, small window, big world. But is there a scene in this that's your favorite scene? And then we'll get into Reapers.
Favorite's tough because there's a lot, but there's one I pointed out this time that I did make a note of because I love it. And it pertains to horror very importantly. So I believe, and it sounds like I'm going on a tangent. I promise I'm not. In the slasher genre, the best way to kill someone is to kill them based on their character trait, or either their strengths or their weaknesses or something about them. If you kill them in a way that is reflective of that, for some reason in the back of your mind, that kill is more impactful. That kill means something more. In this movie, nobody gets killed necessarily, but Otho, the way Otho gets taken out, I absolutely love.
Not so fast, brown boy. We're gonna have some laughs.
Otho?
So, you know, Otho orchestrates this great exorcism and he brings Adam and Barbara back and shit is hitting the fan. And so Beetlejuice comes to save the day. Lydia brings him out like, save them, save them. Beetlejuice goes, I'm going to clean this shit up right away. The biggest problem right away is Otho because he's got a little bit of dark arts in him. So what does he do? He spotlights Otho so everybody has to look at him. And then he rips away his cool suit and he's wearing a tacky leisure suit under it. Otho was literally eliminated by wearing the tackiest shit he would never wear. He's stylish, he's cool, he's hip, he's in the know. So you get rid of him by making him look stupid. I loved that. It was sophisticated. The kids might have been like, oh, I don't get it. He's wearing a powder blue suit. But the adults in the room go, oh, look at that. You humiliated him, and now he can't be seen here. He has to run away because he looks so ridiculous. I just loved the thoughtfulness of that moment.
For me, it is. There's one specific point where Lydia is writing a letter, and she's like, "I am alone. I am so alone. I am so desperately alone." But it's like she's trying to like present, she's trying to convey, and all of it is everything. And you said it with Otho. It's about identities. It's about, the Dietz family and Otho by extension of that. They're all about how they are perceived, while Adam and Barbara are all about what they receive.
Right.
So they're about, internalizing things, the things that make them happy, not the way that they look to everybody else. Even though Barbara is concerned with the way that they're making her home look.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's an internal, not the external, but the external is the internal. And like that shit is so fucking interesting. And I feel like I could talk for 40 minutes about just perception and reality and the way that the world sees you and the way that you see yourself in the world. But let's get into Reapers for this. 0 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. Where are you coming in for Beetlejuice?
This is like, for me, I want to say it's like a 4.95 Reapers. It's damn near perfect.
I'm gonna go about 4.5. I feel like there's room to perfect, but not a lot. And
there's not a lot.
And I love all of the characters. I love the style that the music that's used to haunt them is
good.
something that they would be interested in, because they're kind of geeks. They're in their own world, and they're listening to records and shit. So it's like they're kind of old, and this is young, and that again, old, young, country, city, living, dead. It's all just kind of clashing together. And so like they have fucking Robert Goulet in this shit. Like
I love the casting in this movie.
It's so fun. Well, one casting could fuck himself forever, but
oh, that's right. Yeah.
There. But this is such a safe entryway horror film for kids, and it's like a cartoon in real life, and it plays itself like a cartoon. Michael Keaton is tremendous in this fucking thing.
So funny.
But Patrick, tell people where they can find you in your podcast and your short films and all the good things.
Please find Rewind of the Living Dead everywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube. If you subscribe, if you rate, if you do all that good stuff, that stuff truly helps us. You can find me at Director Patrick on pretty much all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd now. You can follow along with what I watch. And you can see my latest short film, Don't Do It, is on my Instagram and my TikTok. I'm at Patrick the Living Dead on TikTok, but I think if you search Director Patrick, you'll still find me there. And that's where you can find us.
And if you guys are here just for Patrick, but you've enjoyed the show, you want to find out more about us, first of all, thank you. Secondly, wherever in the world of social media you're looking, you just search Creature Pod. That's, for Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. Creature Pod is the way to find us. Want to thank Miami Fox Streaming for putting us out. Of course, when you subscribe to Miami Fox Streaming, you get the show early. If not, it's on YouTube on Friday. Want to thank you again, Patrick, for coming on. We're just about out of time. So for Director Patrick and for myself, again, my name is Chunky. This has been another episode of the Creature Features Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, and Miami Fox Streaming. Listen with someone you trust.